Episode number 59 of Making the Case. Men play chess or women play checkers. Hey, let's get it.
You said on your Twitter, I saw this, men play chess, women play checkers. What do you mean by that?
Like, my dad raised me to understand that men play chess and women play checkers, that they have a completely different line of thinking than women do. And I didn't really used to understand what he was talking about, but as I got older, I did. And especially the last couple of years, I see in real time every day men creating circumstances for things that women don't see, whether it be positive or negative. And men are meant to do that, he said, because they are the leaders in the home. So they're supposed to create the circumstances for their family's success. And they do that by chess. And it happens completely unbeknownst to women because we just don't think in that way. And that's a good thing. Like, they have a very strong ability to compartmentalize so that they can keep going in difficult situations, hardships that chisel them rather than cripple women. That's how they become great men and fathers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, what's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, none other than Dr. Jacob Isom, educator, speaker, entrepreneur, content creator, father, a little bit of everything. Back with another episode of Making the Case. Episode number 59. Men play chess, women play checkers. All right. Now, I want to start off with that video to kind of set the stage for kind of what we're going to be discussing. I saw this. I saw the longer form of the clip that I show you probably a week or two ago, and I thought it would be a great discussion to have for our show today, and kind of break down why it is the case of why men play checkers and women play. Men play chess and women play checkers. So that's why I showed the video first before I get into my opening statement. Of course, I got to go over my two channel norms. One, we take points and not people. And two, we don't do all the cussing and derogatory stuff because we keep it professional over here. All right. So let's get into my opening statement. So as the video stated, the reason why I believe and some people believe, now some people believe the opposite, right? That women play chess and men play checkers, right? But I am of the volition that men do play chess is because men are responsible for more things, right? We know men are responsible for being a protector and provider, which that typically comes with a little bit more responsibility and accountability when it comes to literally laying their life on the line, when it comes to war, when it comes to a burglar. I said burger. I'm not hungry, I promise. And just many different assets, creating the infrastructure, doing the dangerous jobs, right? So men have to think logically, have to think with rationale, have to literally not have their emotions in things as much. Now, we're human beings, of course, emotions are always going to be involved, but a lot of times we have to suppress it. That is the reason why we are raised the way we are, because it literally benefits society, our culture, and the world for that matter, right? And I have a son, and he's going to be raised and trained a certain way because he has responsibility that my daughter do not have. That's just the reality of it. So really, for me, biologically and socially, men have to be playing chess because we always have to be thinking 2-3 moves ahead, right? When it comes to being out in public, right? I know for me, and I can't speak for all men, I'm always assessing threats, right? Anywhere I go, anybody who I'm around, no matter if it's family or friends, right? So I'm always thinking about where an X is at, how I'm gonna get out of this, things I need to say. Like, I don't believe women have that feeling or thought process, right? Because a lot of time they are the protected class along with children, right? So as a protector and provider, I have to be thinking strategically. And I know a lot of men feel that way. So that would be kind of the background of where I would come from, of why men have to be playing chess while women playing checkers. All right. Now, so we're gonna go ahead and get into our pieces of evidence to kind of further on the belief and the point of men playing chess and women playing checkers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get us our first piece of evidence. All right, so I have a article here from a platform called Quiet and Strong. Never heard of it, first time using it, and the title of it is called Checkers or Chess. Okay, so this is gonna break down a little bit more when we talk about the analogy of people playing chess and checkers. I'm pretty sure a lot of you heard the analogy before. So we're just breaking it down for those that maybe need a little bit more understanding, and also for me to get a clearer picture, a vision of kind of where I'm going with the analogy as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So say I recently came across an article by Marcus Buckingham on the Harvard Business Review. I love his analogy of how average managers play checkers and great managers play chess. In checkers, all the pieces have the same moves, the same opportunities, the same strengths. In chess, however, each piece has its own unique abilities and moves, and each plays a different role in the game strategy. So, really, with that, right, we're talking about someone playing chess is really reactive, right? Like, so somebody else doing something, so they do it, right? Or they make a move and then the other person make a move. So it's like tit for tat when it comes to checker. But with chess, we understand that this person has a different strength. This person is weak in this area. So now this kind of like trying to figure out how to move different pieces based off strengths and weaknesses, right? So that's a little bit more of a breakdown of what we mean by chess and checkers. So let's keep reading. In the real world, people are different, and like chess pieces, they have different strengths and talents, different temperaments and personality, different ways of doing things. Have you ever felt the pressure to be like a checker, to produce and perform just like everyone else? I know I have felt this pressure, but I have come to realize that each person is unique, and the way to success is to make the best move at individual chess pieces. Absolutely. People will make the most of their own strengths rather than trying to be the same as everyone else. I know I definitely like to practice the art of war, right? So I do not like to let my moves be known to people. I definitely move in silence because if you ever heard the phrase real killers move in silence, absolutely, right? You don't want people to know your next move. So that's playing chess to me, right? So if you haven't read that book, Art of War, and the 48 Laws of Power, I suggest you actually read that. They both good reads. Where did I okay. Now I see where I am. Oh, sorry. Let me go back up. What are your moves? What strengths are uniquely yours? Do you recognize that others have different strengths than you? For example, as an introvert, I spend a lot of time thinking this leads to great strategy and creativity, but not all introverts are alike. I'm a big picture person, while another introvert may focus more on details. I may be more of a thinker, while another may be more in touch with the feelings of others. I like things to be scheduled, and follow an introvert may be more relaxed and spontaneous. What strengths are uniquely yours? Do you recognize that others have different strengths than you do? And really, when it comes to being a chess player, right, it's someone who is really thinking strategically when it comes to, okay, the people in their life, the people that voluntarily that they are around, and also the people that involuntarily they're around, such as work, such as going out in public, the grocery stores and movies and things of that nature, right? So you have to move a different way when you are intentionally around people versus unintentionally around people. That's thinking like a chess player, right? Versus not having a plan and a strategy, that's thinking like a checkers player. And typically, I think men think like that versus women who kind of, are about feels and, kind kind of go with the flow. Like they like excitement, but they'll rather let excitement comes to them versus seeking the excitement, right? That's checkers. All right. It's a challenge to balance the strengths and needs of a team. You may need to look at different training approaches or varied training methods to accommodate different learning style. You also may need to consider how you are recognizing each team member. Each team member may not want the same recognition as everyone else. What are each individual's strengths? When someone is spending most of their time working in their strengths, they are likely to perform at higher levels and experience greater satisfaction with their work. It can be a challenge to help everyone best play to their strength, but we'll work it. Now go play some chess, right? Now they're talking about in a working capacity, but we can extend it to personal relationship or anything, right? You have to know the people that are around you. You got to know who you're dealing with, right? You got to know their temperament. You got to know their likes, their dislikes, their quirks, right? Their pet peeves. That's playing chess. And like I said, I believe men more so do this. And I'm speaking in general. Okay. I shouldn't have to say that, but I feel like I always have to, right? Not that some women don't. It's just that I feel like more men think strategically like this when it comes to the people they're around. Like I said, anytime I'm in any environment, I'm always casing out the place. Always. You know, how many men are there compared to women? How many people are there in a certain location? Right? I mean, it's little things that men typically take into consideration. All right. So I just wanted to read that because I wanted to give a little bit more breakdown of what the analogy means when it comes to playing checkers versus chess. So let's get into some other pieces of evidence to show you why men typically play chess and women play checkers. Let's get it. All right, so let's get into our second piece of evidence of why do I believe that men play chess and women play checkers. Well, it's because of our emotions, right? We understand that in general, women are more in their feels and their emotion than men are. Typically, we are trained from the very beginning to suppress our emotion, or we're always accused of not being emotionally available, and things of that nature, right? And the reason why men are often accused of that is because we understand that with and very important decision making, our feelings can't be in it, right? Even though that we understand that emotions are in a lot of decisions. So this article that is from Forbes, which Forbes has some very great articles. Um, we didn't use a lot of Forbes articles. And excuse the ad, for some reason I can't get it to go away. They really want us to watch it. But so this article is how your emotions influence your decisions. So let's see what they say about this and how we can kind of tie it into what we're talking about. According to Herbert Simon, American Nobel laureate scientist, in order to have something, anything like a complete theory of human rationality, we have to understand what role emotion plays in it. As Dr. Simon and others have pointed out, emotions influence, skew, or sometimes completely determine the outcome of a large number of decisions we're confronted with in a day. Therefore, it behooves all of us who want to make the best, most objective decisions to know all we can about emotions and their effect on our decision making. Behooves is one of my favorite words, and I don't even know why. I like to use it from time to time. But just in case you're not sold on what I and Dr. Simon say, you continue to believe you can make decisions free of emotional bias. Let's look at how emotions are formed and how they are transformed into actionable feelings. Which I'm not saying that emotions are not involved at all. I'm just saying that I know I can be feeling a certain way, but I have to make a decision that goes against that. And most men understand that, whereas women have a more difficult time of doing that. First, every feeling begins with an external stimulus, whether it's what someone said or a physical event. That stimulus generates an unfelt emotion in the brain, which causes the body to produce responsive hormones. These hormones enter the bloodstream and create feelings, sometimes negative and sometimes positive. So the review is stimuli, then emotions, then hormones, and finally feelings. You see the train there? In other words, your emotions impact your decision making process by creating certain feelings. According to another expert in the field, American Portuguese neuroscientist Dr. Antonio R. Damasio, the brain constantly needs to update its information on the body state in order to regulate the many processes that keep it alive. And it needs to translate those emotions into actionable feelings. In an ever-changing environment, this is the only way an organism can survive. For instance, when we feel threatened by something, the initial emotion is labeled fear. That fear, by means of hormones, results in the production of fight or flight responsive feelings, allowing our body to react quickly and appropriately for its own self-preservation. This emotional reaction happens suddenly and unconsciously. Then, usually after an extremely short period of time, we become aware of those changes. We become aware of them only after responsive hormones have entered our bloodstream and we experience them as a feeling of being frightened or perhaps inferior. And another thing this article is not mention is the fact that we all got different levels of hormones, right? We all, when it comes to stimuli, right, we all got different environmental factors that is infecting us, that's impacting us. And so this is the reason why we all respond differently. Okay. But in general, men are going to respond differently to their environment than women are because we literally see the environment as a threat. Whereas I don't think women really do. Girl, let's keep reading. Awareness that there is a constant and complex dance between emotion and feeling can significantly improve your emotional intelligence, including your decision-making ability. However, to aid in your understanding of the matter, let me introduce you to Paul Ekman's emotional wheel. To continue with our fear to frighten and fear example above, we can look at the emotional wheel to more clearly visualize that fear on the inner circle is different from frightened on the outer one. Or to switch our focus to the positive, we can use the emotional wheel to see that the emotion of happy on the inner circle can result in the feeling of joyful, powerful, even proud on the outside circle. I would tell you that a man put happiness in a certain position in place. Yeah, we can be happy, but we understand that it's momentary, right? And that it's a cycle, almost like it's talking about this emotional wheel, right? Whereas I believe that women see happiness as something that they feel like it should be a state that exists for a long time. Think about how women talk about happiness in their relationships. Do you see men talking about happiness like that? Do you see men saying, leaving a relationship saying, I just wasn't happy? Have you heard that on a grand scale? Let's get back to it. All well and good, you perhaps say, but how does an understanding of this help us make choices that are actually beneficial in the long run and not perhaps just perceived as beneficial in the short run? We do that by focusing on the resulting feeling. In other words, we need to consider how any particular emotion will translate into a feeling. The payoff is in understanding that the 6 emotions are only broad category with little specificity, while the feelings are more akin to how we actually and specifically describe what's going on in our brains and bodies. For example, we can readily see that the emotion of disgust is just a general revulsion. Without the emotional will, it's impossible to see how it translates into specifics feelings. Only when we see this final result can we effectively utilize knowledge of emotion and feeling in the decision-making process. Instead, if we try to understand that any particular emotion, say disgust, will result in the feeling of, say, loathing or judgmental or detestable, then we can better evaluate the matter and take the better action. Now, what I want you to understand is like, that's a lot of processing that we know a lot of it happens unconsciously, right? Because, of course, we can't constantly go through all of that and keep our sanity. But what I think those of us who do have emotional intelligence and those of us who do have a fair understanding of how our emotion impacts us and impacts our behavior. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, just literally maybe an hour ago, I was feeling a certain way that kind of had me in a funk, right? And so what I was trying to understand is, okay, what emotion am I feeling right now? Why does it have me feeling this way? But I also understood that it was temporary. And I also understood, you know what? It's certain things that I don't feel like doing, and that's almost on a daily basis, but I understand I have to get it done. Whereas I believe that a lot of time a woman can which is why we see more so reported cases of depression from women, right? You can allow those feelings and those emotions to really linger and it become a state of mind. All right. And this is why typically men play chess and women play checkers, right? Because we understand, hey, feeling aside, we got to get this work in. like we literally have a very important role and job to do. Not that women don't. They're just different. All right. I'm trying to see if I want to. Yeah, that's all that really want to read from that. Which I mean, it was a fascinating breakdown of how emotions really influence us, and why I believe that typically men deal with the emotions and feelings the way they do. Now, women will say that it's unhealthy or that men need to open up more, but I believe that we are created and we are intentional about doing what we do, so that we can operate at our most effective level, which is making sure the infrastructure in society runs the way it does. All right, by playing chess. All right. So let's move to our last and final piece of evidence and wrap this on up. Put that bow on it. All right. Let's get it. All right. So for my third piece of evidence, we're going biblically on you guys. All right. Of course, I have to cater to my Christian Bible thumpers and God believers and God fears audience. Because I hope you will appreciate the fact that, we're talking about what's in the Bible about man being the head of the household. And this to me is the reason why men have to play chess, because it's ordained by God. All right. So let's look at some biblical verses that talk about men being the head of the household. This is from a platform called Open Bible. So let's get into some scripture. Okay. All right. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ, the head of a wife is her husband, the head of Christ is God. So that's the order, young people. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 23. For the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body and himself as Savior. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. Then the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. I should make him a helper. The woman being the helpmeet. So she's supposed to play checkers, in my opinion. Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Likewise, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way, showing honor to the woman as the weaker vessel, since they are heirs with you of the grace of life, so that your prayers may not be hindered. Now, I wouldn't use the terminology that women are the weaker vessel, right? Now we understand strength wise, right? They're weaker, right? But I think women hold a very important and vital key to life. Of course, they're the one that gives and brings life, right? But some would take this and run with it, right? That's not what I'm doing. But I'm just trying to show why men have a greater responsibility, because based on the Bible that God bestowed that upon the man. All right. Timothy chapter 2, verse 11 through 15. Let a woman learn quietly with all submissiveness. I do not permit a woman to teach or to exercise authority over a man. Rather, she is to remain quiet. For Adam was formed first, then Eve, and Adam was not deceived. But the woman was deceived and became a transgressor. Yet she would have saved through Yet she will be saved through childbearing if they continue in faith and love and holiness with self-control. This is more so, I guess, continuing on with, the woman being the helpmate and the woman, like, I get the whole idea of, they're trying to pin sin or doings on women, and that's why they bleed and things of that nature. But we understand why a woman bleed every month, because she's shedding. So let's just move on. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 22 to 24. Why? Submit to your own husband as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body and himself as Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husband. Let's see. Let's see what else we want to read to you. Because a lot of these verses are saying the same things. I'm trying to see if anything's Matthew chapter 19, verse 5 through 6, and said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. Let's see. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4. Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. So men are supposed to be disciplined. Men are supposed to provide structure. Men are supposed to be rife with knowledge, a sense of being. In my estimation, men are supposed to look at things through a certain lens, right? That's going to be different from how women look at it. And you can either look at this biblically, you can look at this socially, biologically, however you want to look at it. Men and women think differently, and that's why men typically think I don't know where the whole idea comes from that men can't multitask. We do it all the time. All right. Let me see if I want to read anything else to you. I don't think so. Oh, Timothy chapter 3, verse 4. He must manage his own household well with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. Okay. Titus chapter 2, verse 3 through 5. Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husband and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their husband, that the word of God may not be reviled. Sorry. Now, so I always find it very, very, very interesting that the very people that talk about being Christian and stuff like that. And I don't want to derail the conversation, but like it clearly states in the Bible how men and women should act, what men should do. Now, I'm not saying all men are leaders and doing what they're supposed to do. We understand that's not the case. So both men and women are not living by the word that they say they live by. Okay. This is why I'm of the understanding that we have to do some upgrading, right? Whether that's biblically, well, if we once had the Old Testament, now we got the New Testament. Do we need a new Testament? Right? Like, but I don't understand why that would be such a silly thing to ask, though. I mean, let's be real. So, this is why I'm thinking that women play checkers because, well, one, it's innate in them, and they move to a totally different beat. They care about their children. They care about how they're gonna survive to feed their children. They care about things that make them happy, whereas men care about things that is going to keep the world running. Two different responsibilities, right? Which is why men typically play chess and women play checkers. All right. So we're going to end the video on that. Hopefully you got some understanding of some things. Really what we really was talking about when we're using the chess and checkers analogy, we're really talking about male and female nature at the end of the day. That's what we're talking about. And they're different. Even though men have a bigger responsibility. If I'm using the Bible, we could say women is below man. That's the order, right? They're a weaker vessel, but I wouldn't even say that. I would just say we have different roles. If you play your role, I'll play mine, and we'll be just fine. Bars. All right, but in all seriousness, though, we just need to get back to playing our part, and not trying to be more powerful than the other person, not try to be better than somebody. Just be human to someone, be lovable to someone. Like, at the end of the day, things are not this difficult. We make them this difficult. All right, so. Hey, as always, man. Hey, you know where you can find my books. You know where you can find the merch. If you need a consultation, rcdconsultancy.com. I have that, of course, in the description. On my social media handles, you want to hit me up. Let me know. If you got any topic ideas, hey, I'll take them, and then we'll rock like that. All right. So as always, I am you. You are me. Love always, love eternal. The worst thing you can do is lie to yourself, and I believe we just made that case, baby. All right. Deuces. One love.